Well, appreciate it.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Corey McKenzie, and I have with me here today the real mothers of sales ops. I want to thank you ladies for joining the round table this afternoon. Well, I'm first going to start by introducing the ladies. To my right, I have Kenda Butler, Cheryl Blyler. To my left, I have Carrie Overby and Kelsey Jones. So I'm just going to start by throwing some questions out. I'll direct some questions to my right, to my left, and y'all can just chime in where you feel necessary. So we'll start with my first question here. How do you balance being a career woman, super mom, as well as just family?
I have a 4-year-old and a 9-month-old. She just turned 9 months yesterday. And the way I handle it is basically my husband. I would not be able to do it without him. We have like a tag team going on where we get home from work, kids in the bathtub, kids eat dinner, kids have prayer, kids go to bed, read a story and go to bed. And I'll take one, he'll take the other. And our goal is to get them in bed by 8, but it's still daylight outside. So putting a kid to bed when it's still daylight outside, that's not going to happen because they still want to play. So 9 o'clock is the goal so that, we can have our time.
Okay. Cheryl?
As Kenda was speaking, I think about it, although my children are older, it wasn't much different when they were younger. Like she said, if it wasn't for my husband and the tag team, literally, we worked at one time at the same location at different shifts when it was just my son, and he would bring him with him when he was going to work, and I would get him when I was headed back home. So, we had to do it like that for a while. But, parenthood forces you into adulthood. You kind of learn as you go, especially with your first one. So,
what was the aha moment? And I guess we'll start to my left this time. What was the aha moment after having your first kid that you were like, okay, there's going to have to be some extra effort putting into making all this work?
Have you reached that? Well, immediately you realize there's going to have to be extra effort. But I don't think I probably started pulling my hair out until the third child. But I don't know. Once they start talking, it's, all the why do you have to go to work and where are, the guilt trip stuff.
When they start school too, that's another aha moment, because when they're infants, that saying about a village to raise a child, you might have your, the grandparents and, younger siblings, they're at home or whatever. But when they actually start school and you have to get yourself ready and them ready, as opposed to just leaving them home with a babysitter or, getting them dressed, that's extra. So you really have to plan.
Same thing. Both of my parents stay within 15 minutes of me, and so if there's anything I need last minute, I'm staying late for work, or there's an event happening at the school I can't make, I say, hey, can you go instead, and they can go for me. But the same thing, you have to push yourself just to do the extra, because like she said, by the time you get home and your feet up and your bait up, it's like time to go to bed.
Yep.
But even after they're in bed, you still have stuff you have to do around the house. It's like 2 piles of laundry you got to wash.
We talk about that.
This one is for the expecting mom, which I don't think anyone here is expecting. But I know there are a few in sales ops, and so y'all can direct these tips to them. And we'll start to my right this time. Tips for the expecting mom.
You're going to kind of just, especially if it's your first child, you can read all the books, you can hear all the stories, and then when it actually is here, it's like,
Why didn't they tell me that?
It's go for what you know.
Yeah.
It's got to be so many messed up first children in the world.
I was the first.
I was the first.
I would just say, do not expect to get any sleep.
Ever.
Ever again.
Yeah, ever again. You're going to have
That's
to
a good
learn
one.
how to function with
That's true.
30 minutes to an hour sleep. And yes, that means going to work all day long and doing everything that you have to do in the evening and starting all over again, because you're not going to sleep. That baby is going to wake up.
I would say accept help. I tried for my first. Oh, really? For my first, I thought, I'm going to do everything. I can do it. I can do it. I can do it. By my third, strangers in the grocery store can hold him. I don't care at all. I'm just like, who are you? What are you doing? Okay, you need to do this, and that's how it works out. But the second thing, there is actually practical advice. There's a book called What to Expect the First Year. And literally, I don't care what your baby's doing, you can find it in the index. And it's like, oh, that's normal, do this, flip them over. It's the most helpful book ever, and it goes through month by month by month.
No, the same thing, accept help from others. Never be afraid to ask for help. I had to learn that the hard way, too. I tried to be super mom, and I was like, okay, I can't do this by myself. Another thing, it's just don't bite off more than you can chew. Just try to strategically plan everything. I think me, being my only child, he's 5, I wanted to do everything, and I was like, he's not gonna do this. Before he was even born, I had this whole outline of what he's gonna do at this age and that age, and he can't watch TV until that age. But then in 10 months, Barney's on, and it just mesmerized him. I was like, oh, you can watch TV.
So this next question is kind of interesting because me, I don't have any kids or anything like that, but even for me, working for a news station and watching the news every day and constantly being on top of the stories, there's a lot of negative things covered. And I don't want to say it makes you paranoid, but it does make you more aware of the things that are going on around you. And so as a mom, how do you think, how does constantly seeing negative news and things like that all the time sort of affect you in the way that you parent?
Before I had kids, I could not give a crap about any of that stuff. It was like, it's not my family, I don't care. I had no compassion whatsoever about anything. I'm sorry. No, that's true, but I didn't realize when I had kids that I was also going to have a mother's heart. I care so much about I can't, my staff jokes on me, Damien, I'll probably cry right now. They're just don't tell her what happened. She's gonna get all upset because I'm like, oh, if that were my baby, if that were it's not only if it were mine, but if something's wrong with your child, I then take that on. I have that mother's heart, and it sucks. Especially working here, because it's you're going, and you have to think about all the money and the revenue and the this and the that, and it's when am I gonna get to react to being so upset about what's going on in the state of the world, and not necessarily that I worry so much about my kids more, but that I'm worried more about all the things we're exposed to. I care so much more because I was a truly carefree person. I don't know who ever knew me before 2007. Lots of fun, but no consequences, nothing, and now I'm I just care a lot more about a lot more things. So,
my kids again, they're not small, but I'm like Carrie when it comes to the babies, and you're putting yourselves in the parents' shoes. So, working at a news station, hearing these negative stories, short of sitting at your desk and bawling all day, you have to block it out to a certain extent. And then even though my children are grown now, I still worry about them when they go out, in the world. It has no age limit. Danger has no age limit. So once a parent, always a parent, so it's tough.
I did.
What is the best part about being a mom? And we'll start with this.
At this stage, grandkids. I want some grandkids. No, just fun, watching them grow, watching them succeed, waiting for them to get married, waiting for them to have those grandchildren. But that's the stage I'm at now.
I would say when I walk the door, my daughter smiles from ear to ear. She recognizes me, And when my son just tells me, "Mommy, I love you so," he just goes on and on
So
and on.
nice.
Yeah, I love you so much. I just want to kiss you. And I'm like, oh, one day you won't feel like that, but I'm gonna take it now, So yeah, those are my favorite moments.
I'm just so jealous of Kinga. She's got carpooling, kids kissing her. No, my child says, I hate you. But she doesn't mean it every day.
He's like, I think so.
Yeah, if you've ever met Bella.
Yeah,
have you
I've met Bella.
Oh yeah,
I've
you
met
guys
Bella.
met.
Yeah.
They're like to punch me. But it is the best part of it for me. Well, really, honestly, right now, my kids are so close together and so young. I have to like force myself to relax and try to find like the fun stuff right now because it's hard. It's hard to be by yourself with 3 kids, and they always you're never here, you're never with it. Why are you on your BlackBerry? Why aren't you talking to us? Why aren't you paying attention to us? And so it's like extremely difficult for me right now. And then when I can stop doing that, and you know what? The dishes don't have to be done. I don't have to do the laundry. Let's go to the jumpy house, because they're not going to remember what they had for dinner or whatever. I'm like, eat a cracker, let's have some fun, So
What I like most is like when I had my son, I have never ever been in love with anybody in my life like this. It's the type of love you just can't even express vocally. And then he's the only person, like, you got your parents and they love you everything, but this person will love you unconditionally regardless. Like, you could put him in timeout and you could yell at him. Next thing you know, he's coming, he's like hugging you, and if you don't feel good, you're like, rub my head or kiss me. And it's also, it's just because I'm the type of person, I just like to study things. I just watch how it teaches you like how people learn, because you get to see from the ground up like how does he learn these terms and how does his personality develop. And that to me is like the fun part, because when he comes to me and he says something like, oh, you're giving me a headache, I'm like, where'd you get that from? Like, where'd you learn that from? You know what I mean? It's just like fun to watch them grow, and you're like, this was like a baby I brought home, and now you're like a person holding a conversation. Yeah. And how did this happen? Like, it's just really crazy. But yeah, that's what I like. It's just amazing, chili. You can't even describe it.
Well, I want to thank you ladies again for joining me at the Mommy Roundtable. And that's it. Happy Mother's Day to all the moms.